Hey everyone. Last time on Folklore, we finally made it to the Twin Trees at the end of our journey. But we've got a little bit of territory to go back to cover because Keats still hasn't explored the second half of the core. I think it's kind of funny that Ellen always says, "Hey Keats, why don't you take a break and I'll take over for a little while," whereas Keats always says, "Hey Ellen, I don't think you can do this. You suck. Let me go." But whatever. He will be eating his words at some point. So back at the halfway point, everybody who was here has moved on, although Ellen is conveniently hanging out at all of the save portals just to make it convenient so that we don't have to go to a specific place to switch. And already we're going to be meeting our first new folk. You might remember the tutorial fairy talking about the parent and child folks. This is the child folk, Proto. They're kind of confusing to fight just because their red ids don't seem to pop out until after you've stopped attacking them. So half the time you're just going to keep attacking them until they drop dead. And we just need to absorb more of them. As a matter of fact, a whole bunch of them. I think we need a total of 18 plus the one we captured just to get its attack. See, you never saw a red id. It was there at some point, but you have to stop attacking it and just wait. In the meantime, this is the parent, Protea. And just like the children, it doesn't make it very clear when you've done enough damage to stun it. And it will fill the screen with ice if you let it. It's not quite as dangerous as it seems, I think, but it's certainly difficult to tell when you can capture it. And Bougainvillea is not really the best choice, but it does work. So these are our final two ice folks. And absorbing 5 more of them is a surprisingly tall order, believe it or not. Like I said, I still need to capture a bunch of Proto, but it's actually a good idea to use Durandal to attack them, just because you need to kill 5 of them. And that way, when you inevitably do too much damage and just kill the thing outright, you'll at least be getting something out of it. You can kill them with Bougainvillea too, because it needs to kill 10 folks, and there aren't really any that are easy to kill with it. There you go, see, by the time the red id popped out, I was already in the middle of my next attack. And then of course there's the big risk that you decide not to attack because you think the red id's coming out, and it doesn't, and then it flies away. Proto and Protea are just really annoying all around. Both of them. But that's 1 room cleared, 3 more to go. And yes, a whole host of new folks. Ellen only got 3. Keats will be fighting more than that. Yeah, Earth on Proto, not exactly the best choice. It works. I'm very surprised. But yeah, it takes a lot of experience fighting these guys to be able to tell when the red id is going to pop out of them. At this point, I haven't had that experience. But we're getting more simultaneous uses of them, and at their highest level we'll have 4 of them shooting out at once. Here are both of the new ice folks. Protea is kinda like Volcano, actually. It's a continuous ice attack that you can aim as it goes. And then Prota just shoots straight ahead. Doesn't look like it would be all that effective. It's not a combo attack like Anwen, but it's pretty fast, and I like it. Particularly at times where it doesn't matter how much damage you do, like when you're fighting Durandal. Yeah, ice not going to work against Agapanthus. It seems like sometimes I've seen fire attacks work on them and sometimes not. But most of the time, it's gotta be Destroy. And I suppose that there might be some degree to which you do Destroy element damage. And as you can see, his armor has come off. Now I should be able to damage him with anything. Believe it or not, I didn't notice that until watching this video, and I've recorded most of the rest of the chapter by now. The things you learn when doing an LP. He's definitely no less annoying to capture than he was for Ellen, but again, Keats has some decent Destroy element attacks, so he can fight it effectively. And for Keats, it really is a fire element attack. And not the best, I don't think, but not a bad one either. Of course, I'm going to stick with Durandal for now, just because it's got a much bigger spread. And Agapanthus, while it's a decent attack, doesn't cover a lot of ground. It's actually basically melee range, and it's just got a really tall pillar of fire attached to it. And that's how you use the Capture Invulnerability to get out of a tight spot. And we have two Proteas here. Guess how many of them I'll be able to capture? You won't even see most of this happen. I think one of them just died in the background over there. Oh no, it's still flapping around. But I'm attacking these Protos with Durandal, and the Proteas are going to fly right into the middle of it. They'll die, and I don't even think I ever shot directly at a single one. Now that I'm complaining too much if I accidentally kill too many Protos instead of capturing them. Like I said, I do like Durandal, and building it up will work pretty well. But I think both of the Proteas are dead, and it's just this one Prota left. And this one I want to kill. We've captured all of them that we need. And finally we are free from our prison. And we get 2 yellow stones. There are actually 2 different collections of crystals that can appear here. And I think the yellow ones give us 2 purple dust. Remember that. It'll be a long time before it becomes relevant, but just remember it. Now we get to the room with the Amobiums and Bergamot. And to nobody's surprise, that's exactly the same pair of folks that we fight here. Good idea to capture the Amobiums first, since we can capture them without getting attacked. And we just need a few more of them to go along with what we've got. I don't know whether Earth is effective or not, but it does at least hurt them. Probably about the same as non-elemental or destroy attacks. Now I kill a Bergamot, capture a Bergamot. Somehow I get the feeling that ice isn't going to be effective just because they attack with it. So we'll try something burny. I don't really use Urisk that much. But that worked really well. It's one of those cases where I'm not really paying much attention to what I'm doing and probably will have forgotten about that by the next time I'm fighting them. And just like it was for Ellen, we get 2 crystals of one element, and then the middle one appears once we've defeated all the enemies in the room and gives us a large life drop. So let's check out the new folks. We've got 2 more left to capture, whereas Ellen had caught all of them by this point in the level. And for Keats, they're kind of the opposite as they were for Ellen. Amobium is a really, really, really good attack. Bergamot, not very good. I don't like it very much. I'm getting used to the 2 Agapanthus collections. They show up in pairs, kill 1, capture 1. And that's the way we're going to get most of our Agapanthus captures. It is kind of a pain having to kill a folk that I need to capture. And would love to capture, but there's just no way it's going to work. So we move on to the final challenge. One last room that we get locked into until we kill everything in it. And this time we've got 1 Agapanthus and a couple of, believe it or not, a new folk. Looks a lot like Amobium and Bergamot, but this is Goggi. And this is the one that, if you knock it down, becomes a different folk. And the first time through the game, that never happened to me. Because I never attacked Goggi with anything but non-elemental attacks, I think. Drew out the id, captured it every time. So I never saw Amarillis. It's no surprise that Amarillis is weak to fire. And it's got a lot of really neat-looking ice-based attacks. See if you can guess which one of them we'll actually get to use once we've captured it. And there I accidentally attacked Goggi right out of its id. And we've got 2 Amarillis to fight. And now we've got 1 Amarillis to fight. Everything that happens in this room is frankly embarrassing. Amarillis is kind of hard to hit with most of your folks, but Durandal's got a big spread, so it hits Amarillis more often than not. Unless you're shooting way too high. And if I get close enough, I can at least hit it with Hinky Punk. Didn't even realize I was doing that much damage. But just like for Ellen, we get 2 purple dusts and a large life drop when we finish the room. And if I want to capture those 2 folks that I missed, I'm going to have to leave and come back. The problem is that on future visits to this room, and it seems to be every other time I come in here, I'm fighting 1 Goggi and 2 Agapanthus. So I have to come in here at least twice more to capture both of the folks that I missed. There's Goggi, at least. And in case you were wondering Where is Keats's 4-hit combo non-elemental melee attack for this area? There it is. But I really like the way it looks. It looks kind of like, say, the Hands of God from Demon Souls. Big gauntlet that he wears on his hands and just punches with. And as for at least one of the other folks we've captured so far, if you can see it, there is Amobium. Just charges forwards and hits with a downward attack. Not working very well on these Agapanthus, but it tends to knock the enemies down when it hits them. I actually really like it, particularly against the core folks that you have to use Destroy Element against. Agapanthus and Gladiolus both. Amobium works really well. I'm really tired of fighting Agapanthus already. And let's see what else we got here. This is Agapanthus' attack. As you can see, really short range, but it's got a very reliable Pillar of Fire effect. It's kind of like Urisk and Durandal in that regard, but with Agapanthus you know exactly where the Pillar of Flame is going to be. So you can actually use that to your advantage, as opposed to, if you don't land it in just the right place, you're not going to hit what you're trying to hit. I suppose I could stay up here on this ridge and just try to take out the Agapanthus from a distance, but that'll get me cornered. Instead, this time I actually want to kill both of them right up front, and then make the Goggi hatch into Amarillis, so that I'll be able to fight it one-on-one. Because you just know, for the final folk in the game, there's going to be some kind of weird capture type. To be honest, I could swear that there were folks that used the mixed capture type, where you switch between different types, but I've never actually seen that happen. Could be that that's just for the folklores. The upside is there's never going to be a karma where you have to defeat a certain number of Goggi, because it's impossible to do that. If they run out of HP, then they hatch. And I believe the same thing will happen if you draw out a red id and then don't capture it in time. If it recovers, it'll hatch immediately. Trying to buy myself a little room so I don't accidentally knock the Amarillis out of the way and move on to the next room while I'm trying to capture it. That would be pretty bad. This is, I think, the best use of Agapanthus. When an Amarillis flies, you can put a Pillar of Flame right under it and you're guaranteed to knock it out of the air. You might do more damage to it than you intended, though. And it is probably the most annoying balance capture in the whole game. I almost had it there. Like a half second or so more would have done it. But as it is, I'm going to keep missing the center and just slowly whittle it down. Until I finally have the last regular folk in the entire game. And just enough rubies to build up its first karma. Being cheaper is certainly good, but it's not really a folk that I'm going to want to use all that much. It's got a neat effect. It's just a little slow. Most of the time you're going to get hit before your Amarillis manages to hit anything. Still, minor downside on an otherwise cool-looking folk. And not too annoying to build up. I mean, you gotta capture 5 of them. But there are some DLC quests where we'll get to see plenty of them. And of course, they're all in the same room, almost adjacent to the portal. Speaking of quests, we're gonna start those next time.